ごめんね素直じゃなくて夢の中なら言える思考回路はショート寸前今すぐ会いたいよ泣きたくなるよなムーンライト電話もできないみんなだって純情どうしようハートは万華鏡月の光に導かれ何度も巡り合う星座の瞬き数え占う恋の行方同じ国に生まれたのミラクルロマンス信じているのミラクルロマンス
Hey guys, welcome back to Moonie Thoughts. I'm Hellenjane and this is my co-host podcaster.
Hey guys, it's Katie.
Well, we have a bit of an additional note from one of last month's episodes that we discussed on episode 19.
Yes. If you remember last podcast, I said something about I was trying to do some research to see how accurate any of the science references were regarding Kiral and Akira. And I said I don't know what any of this means, and it's probably just anime gobbledygook. But I learned recently that Naoko Takeuchi's backup career choice in case being a manga author didn't work out was being a pharmacist, and she actually has a degree in chemistry. So all of that chemistry science talk in the Bull Brothers attacks probably does have some real grounding in actual science. And also about the Bull Brothers, we discussed the possibility that they weren't just droids, they were more like the Spectre sisters. Their last name is spelled with the Japanese kanji for artificial, kind of like the rest of the droids are artificial. So that might imply that they are actually just droids, just really powerful ones. And that's just some information that I found after we'd already recorded for last week while I was doing research for this week that I thought you guys might like to know.
Woohoo! That's actually really interesting because we never hear of her backup plan that often. So for some of you, this is new. Like it is new to me. So
yeah, I didn't know that before. But I guess when she's talking about chemicals and chemistry and stuff like that, she actually knows what she's talking about. That's not just making up science stuff to sound cool.
Well, we got a huge episode for you this month, so let's jump in with the usual episode notes that we picked up during watching episode 20 and 21, which we see King Endymion for the first time.
In his fancy suit.
Very fancy.
And one of the first things that they notice is that he doesn't have a shadow or a reflection. And that leads him to say that he's not actually there. He's just kind of a projection. His actual body's in another room.
Technically, it was Sera Myu who noticed that. Thought, why? Then King Endymion became a mind reader.
Yeah, he just sort of answered it automatically.
Mind reader much?
After King Endymion introduces himself, and Chibiusa gives herself a proper introduction, and you learn that King Endymion is the future Tuxedo Mask, and everyone learns that Chibiusa is Usagi and Mamoru's future daughter. And one of everyone's favorite moments where Usagi and Mamoru are like, oh, we have a kid together.
Man, we ended up checking this watch back of the classic 90s anime. To that reaction. The English version, the dialogue was really, really funny. And I was like, oh, no wonder that little brat annoys me so much. She takes after you. Sadly, the Japanese version is not as funny, but it's still the same reaction. But
one thing that the older anime definitely had going for it is that it was a bit more cartoony and over the top, so their reactions to events like that are more funny.
Oh man. Not only that, they also tackled Diana at the same time. Because in the classic, we don't know until Super S, I think it was. Or was it
that
S?
That sounds right.
Yes.
We'll double check, but I'm pretty sure.
They introduced Diana. Here they tackled her straight away, and the reaction of Luna and Artemis was hilarious.
Because, of course, Usagi and Mamoru are the only ones who have a future daughter.
Because remember in the classic anime, Luna was, like, so suspicious of Artemis? And their reaction was, like, mediocre or something like that. But the crystal one, oh, man. But Diana's voice is so cute, though.
It is. It's a tiny, perfect kitten voice. What's kind of funny is that in the manga, when Diana introduces herself and says who she is, Luna is just kind of like, oh, huh? Really? That's weird. And Artemis is the one freaking out in the background.
Oh, dear, dear, dear.
Well, after all of these revelations are made, Tuxedo Kamen notices that his future self still looks pretty much like his present self, and King Endymion reveals that because of the power of the crystal, their lifespans have been extended to about 1,000 years. So that'll give you an idea of how long this current crop of Senshi will last, at least. They should all live to be about 1,000 years old.
And for to put on top, if we were living in crystal right now, we would be living longer.
Yeah, because it affects everyone on Earth too.
Yeah.
So if we got to live in an anime, we'd get to live in Crystal Tokyo. I feel robbed.
Woohoo! Then we went into something darker, relating to the Black Moon Kingdom.
They get down to business and start discussing the Black Moon Clan. And which they reveal, the general backstory is that there was this planet called Nemesis that everyone was trying to research, and they couldn't track its rotation around the sun, and everyone wanted to know more about it until this very dangerous criminal was sent to Nemesis as a punishment, and then suddenly the whole planet was on lockdown and no one could touch it. And what that reminded me of is if anyone watches Winx Club and is familiar with the Omega Dimension, they sounded kind of similar to me, like this big, scary prison planet where only bad people go.
I actually never thought of that. But comparing the two is really, like, kind of like freaky in a way. But, of course, Sailor Moon is, like, the inspiration of many other animes or TV shows or whatever. But... like having Nemesis as an inspiration for the Omega Dimension. Now that is kind of creepy, don't you think? Well, near the end of that explanation, both Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask were beginning to fade because the logic cruel, you cannot have two yourselves in this around the same area. It always kind of like been that way since like the theory of time travel began.
Yeah, that's definitely a pretty standard rule in most works of fiction that involve time travel, is that if two of the same person exist at the same place at the same time, some kind of adverse effect will happen. One starts to fade, or they merge, or something bad happens. But because they are starting to fade away, they quickly make a dash to get home.
Was that they were able to make friends with Pluto?
One thing I have to note is that in the manga, the way she's screen toned, she is supposed to have really perceptibly darker skin. And they really paled her up for Sailor Moon Crystal. Her skin, it's a different tone that's a bit darker, but it's still really pale. Which is disappointing, because I liked her with that really noticeably dark skin tone.
I think in Crystal they lighten every character's skin tone.
Yeah, most of the colors in Crystal are pretty pale. It just seems that she got especially pale, which is sad to see. I liked her darker skin. Even though they all come back, Usagi gets upset because Tuxedo Kamen had told King Endymion that he would do anything and risk his life to protect Chibiusa. And Usagi gets annoyed and says, you keep saying, I'll protect Chibiusa, I'll do all these things for Chibiusa. What about all of our friends who have been kidnapped? And what about this entire planet that's in danger? Why are you only focusing on Chibiusa? And so she runs off, and which, I think she has a point. I understand, obviously, that's his daughter, but at the same time, I have a lot of thoughts about this that I'll talk about later. But,
yeah. Not only that, but all the stress of trying to find where her fallen comrades were, plus, given at Chibiusa when the girls at her place, plus school and everything, with all the stress, it finally got to her and she snapped like that. When she snaps, I do not want to meet her in a dark alleyway, because when she snaps, she gets really serious. And when she gets really serious, she tells it like it is. And that is a perfect example.
So she gets really mad and leaves. Mamoru takes Chibiusa to his house, and but during the night, she apparently leaves because when he wakes up, she's not there. And they figure out that she went back to the future again. And, of course, while she's there, she is attacked by Esmeralda. And seems to be like a pretty standard battle. Once again, Sailor Moon can't use her crystal, and she gets captured. Instead of Venus getting captured, which is probably what people were expecting, Sailor Moon gets captured. They just skip straight to Usagi.
Also, her wand cracked as well. Is like totally cracked.
Yeah, her wand is messed up. Although Tuxedo the Smoking Bomber is getting crazy. Like, he just totally one-shotted Esmeralda. Like, it's so much... like, on one hand, it's really cool to see he's got this really powerful attack, and it's really showing, yeah, he's a king of Earth, he's the defender, he's this really great and powerful guy. But on the other hand, it's such a far cry from dorky, mostly useless Tuxedo Kamen from the first anime. Like, who I don't think ever really got past throwing roses, except a few times when he, like, hit people with his cane.
No, all he does is rescue Sailor Moon, gives some words of encouragement, there goes.
Yeah, and, like, he doesn't hands-on rescue her so much as he'll deflect a single attack, tell her to believe in herself, and then run away. And it's like, okay. Thanks.
When he stayed longer and longer and longer,
yeah,
he doesn't do a damn thing.
he's still kind of the cheerleader.
Yeah. Now seeing Mamoru more like helping out more because of this attack is brilliant. Because it was a few episodes ago, I think it was 19? Or a couple of episodes before. We put an annotation to it was actually 19. That he said he thought that he was completely useless. He realized that, and he just wished that he was able to help out.
Exactly.
If he had that logic in the 90s anime, then he would have got the bomber attack, then would have helped and used it. If he had that logic back then. Oh, man.
Oh, well. Hindsight is 20/20 for memory.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to point out, when Sailor Moon can't use her attack, and she's like, why can't I use any of my powers? Why isn't the crystal working? She gets a flashback to Chibiusa saying that the past Silver Millennium crystal only works in the past, and that's kind of left at that. The manga clarifies a bit more that the silver crystal of the past that Sailor Moon is carrying won't work for the same reason that she and Tuxedo Kamen were disappearing when they were there previously, which is it's in the same place as the legendary silver crystal of the future, and because there's two of the same thing in the same place, they're both malfunctioning, and it's not all there. It isn't working right. So that's why her power isn't working. That wraps up episode 20, and with Sailor Moon's capture, it brings us into episode 21, where the first thing we see is a glimpse of something that a lot of us have mixed feelings about because it's kind of creepy, being Black Lady.
Dun, dun, dun!
If you don't know who Black Lady is yet, you'll find out. But I'm guessing most of you do, and a lot of people tend to have either really love Black Lady or hate her. So it'll be interesting when we get to that point to see what the fan reaction is. We've already seen our first glimpse of her.
But was this, I found really, really odd that they revealed her this episode than the episode that she was introduced in.
Well, in the manga, she shows up in this little dream that Usagi has after she's captured. That's from the manga.
I see.
Yeah.
But it was
But
still freaky. It was still freaky.
Yes, it is. Because Usagi is dreaming, and when she wakes up, she is dressed as her future Neo Queen Serenity self and is laying in this mysterious bed. And Diamande is there to talk to her and be generally creepy and bad. And something that he says, and they talked a bit about the Black Moon Clan's motivations in the previous episode, but you really hear it from the horse's mouth this time, which is they thought that the longevity that the silver crystal had granted the people of Earth were making them lazy and sloth-like, and he specifically said that to live such a long life is an affront against God. And it seemed really weird to me that, you know, they're so disgusted that the crystal gave humanity the ability to live for so long. But then as soon as Wise Man came along and said, here, well, let me give you all these special superhuman powers, they were fine with that? Is that not also, how is that different than the abilities that the crystal granted the rest of humanity? Why is it okay for them to get special powers, but when anyone else does it, it's blasphemy against God? It was not very well. Prince Diamande's scheme was not very well thought out. He didn't put a lot of thought into it.
And I think from now on, I'm going to call him Creepy Prince.
He's really creepy.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got like this weird thing about wanting the queen to like kneel before him and be broken before him. And he's really touchy, and he kisses her, and he's really gross. And what's even worse is that in the manga, you don't see them until the very end, but Rubius and Saphir were in the room the whole time, watching him be all creepy. And it's like,
yeah,
that's even worse. Black Moon, no.
That kind of makes me glad that in the classic anime, Yusaki had the willpower to push him away.
Yeah, well, she pushed him away this time, too,
but this was before he actually kissed her, not afterwards.
Yeah.
So she has more guts than her crystal self.
Yeah. But, yeah, in general, the Black Moon clan is creepy and bad.
Yeah.
We then go to where King Endymion and the cats, Venus and Tuxedo Kamen, are trying to track Nemesis and talking about it a bit. And they realize that the only way to save everyone is to go to Nemesis and break them out, but they can't use the power of the crystal. So Luna says, well, can't Chibiusa use it? She's the bloodline of the moon. And it's revealed that she doesn't have any power. And Chibiusa is 900 years old, but she stopped aging when she was like 6, and no one really knows why. I just wanted to point out that in the manga, again, it goes into a bit more detail and says that the most likely reason that she stopped aging at such a weird time is because she is the first child to ever be half Earth, like have one parent that's from Earth and one parent that's from the moon, and to have those bloodlines intermingled. So there's a lot of things that they just don't really understand about how that's going to affect her. And that's one of them, is they're pretty sure that is why her growth was so stunted.
Mm.
And what effect it might have had on her powers.
I think that's probably one of the reasons why there's a lot of fan art with her being an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know that sometime that she will have to she has to resume growing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, so they have her like as the next queen or her senshi self or things like that.
Mm-hmm. After their discussion about Chibiusa, the focus goes back to Usagi, who is still Nemesis, obviously. And she reflects back on how she's been feeling about Mamoru in terms of how protective of Chibiusa he's been and how much attention he's been giving her, and how much he's been really kind of pushing Usagi away, trying to say, like, I'll take care of Chibiusa, you know, she should stay with me, I'll do all of this, I'll protect her. And when she's, you know, of course Usagi says, well, I've been overreacting, and the reason that my powers are faltering so badly and I'm feeling so badly is because Queen Serenity told me that the crystal reacts to my heart, and if my heart is weak and unsure, then the crystal isn't going to be at its full power. And she kind of picks herself back up and says, all right, I gotta get through this. Which is good, and, you know, good for her. But I gotta say, I understand a lot of where she's coming from, because Mamoru should know about her, first off, how, I don't want to say needy, because I don't want to give it a negative connotation, but she's someone who really wants the attention of the people she loves. And if she doesn't get it, she starts to feel upset, like, you know, she's being neglected, and that it's going to make her sad. And also, Mamoru is trying to do this, you know, big tough guy, you know, you stay back and stay away from the danger and I'll do all of it, even though he already said that he knows she's more powerful than he is. So, I feel like Mamoru should have realized that trying to push Usagi away from this whole situation and keep Chibiusa with him and try to keep this whole, you know, you stay away and don't come near what's dangerous and I'll do all of it and just, you know, don't worry about it. It was doing her a lot more harm than good, and was putting her in danger because of how upset it was making her. I feel like, you know, as half of the miracle romance, he should have known that.
And to be quite honest, I'm just thinking over it now that he should drop the tough guy act. We know that you're trying to protect Chibiusa. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But at least give Usagi some attention.
Exactly, and it's like Usagi said, when he said, I'll protect Chibiusa with my life, and he said, I'll take her to my house and I'll protect her. Usagi says, why couldn't he have said, we'll protect her together? And it's like, exactly, why didn't he? Why is someone who loves Usagi so much so clueless as to how badly it's going to hurt her, both in terms of her emotions and how much danger it's going to put her in to be that upset, when you just say, you go away and I'll do
this? This is supposed to be their training to become parents, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
But in the moment, Moromu is acting like he's a solid dad and doesn't want Usagi to interfere.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sad.
I feel like a lot of Usagi's turmoil that she's been going through. I mean, obviously there's other stuff going on. There's the world being attacked, and there's all of her friends being kidnapped. But I feel like if she didn't have that added stress of feeling like she was losing Mamoru, then she would have had that much more strength to fight when they were dealing with all of this. But like I said, she kind of picks herself back up and says, I gotta get through this. I can't be worrying about this when I know it's not really true. And she uses what power she has left to call out to the captured senshi and wakes them up. So we cut to them for a minute, and they're all kind of wondering where they are. And in in Crystal, they're just kind of in this black void cave thing, and it's kind of dark and gross, but there's nothing really bad about it. But in the manga, the last few chapters have been a bit more grisly in general. First off, the little girl that Diamande sees when he first comes to Crystal Tokyo, and that's crying that Neo Queen Serenity thinks might be Small Lady. In the manga, he kills her before Neo Queen Serenity gets there. And in this dark cave place that the Senshi are in, where they're being trapped on Nemesis, they're surrounded by like all these corpses of previous prisoners. And yeah. And guess what? It's the zombie mummies. That's what they look like. They're zombie mummies. You can't escape them.
Oh dear.
It's zombie mummies.
Our little inside joke.
I hate zombie mummies. I really love that line that Chibiusa says when she's watching Usagi. She's having a flashback to seeing Usagi get scolded by her mom for a bad test grade. And she's unreliable, a crybaby, and gets yelled at by everyone, just like me. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually feeling sympathy for Chibiusa. And I'm so glad that the Crystal writers are doing more than the obnoxious kid and making her an actual sympathetic character, because she's with us for the long haul now, and I'm just really glad that they're making her so much more bearable than she was in the first anime.
Yeah, which is really, really awesome. We don't see that side of Chibiusa that often. And the Crystal team has gone all out for it.
Oh, definitely. They're really going back to the manga in terms of, figuring out her motivations and really showing her development and revealing why she has these facets of her personality. Like, because after she sees Usagi, she goes back to, she has another memory of when she was back in her own time, and you see that she was bullied and teased mercilessly because she'd stopped growing and she never had any powers, and people would say that, oh, well, you're not even the queen's real daughter, you're just a fake. And you see that she loves her mom, obviously, and she respects her and admires her greatly, but her mom is like this distant, unattainable figure that she can never be and she can't relate to, but she can relate to Usagi, who, is a crybaby and who doesn't do things right. And seeing her make that connection really helps you understand so much about her. Because of, all the teasing, she's driven to take the silver crystal to see if she can really use it. And as soon as she takes it, that's when the Black Moon Clan attacks Crystal Tokyo with the malefic black crystal. And what I was left wondering was, did the attack happen because they could sense that the crystal was no longer active because Chibiusa had taken it? Or was it just a coincidence and the attack would have happened anyway, even if the crystal was still there? And if that's the case, if the crystal was still active, would the attack have worked? Because then Diamande's whole, we wanted to show that the silver crystal wasn't the most powerful thing and that the malefic black crystal could beat it. Well, I mean, if you only were able to wreak all of this destruction because the silver crystal wasn't working at the time, then no, that doesn't really prove your point at all.
By the sounds of it, Creepy Prince should have remembered what happened. He should know exactly when the attack happened and when the black crystal sensed about the silver crystal. He has not done his homework.
He could be wrong entirely, but as we already proved, logic is not Prince Diamande's strong suit.
Yeah.
So
All he cares about is the queen.
because he's creepy.
Yeah.
Chibiusa runs to Pluto for comfort, her only friend in the whole world, because Pluto is amazing and everyone loves her. And just the fact that she is so gentle, and that even from their first meeting, she knew how to speak to Chibiusa to calm her down, when she doesn't talk to anyone. Like, sometimes, rarely, the queen or king will come in to speak with her for a minute, but just that she's so courteous and so kind and gentle and knows exactly how to make Chibiusa happy, when she doesn't really have social graces. I find that admirable. I mean, she's never had the chance to develop it. It just proves that she's really that kind of person, and not saying that just to make someone like her, or because she thinks it's what she should say. But when Chibiusa sees King Endymion talking to her, they're really playing up the idea that Pluto had kind of a thing for King Endymion. Like, it's sort of understated in the manga, where if you read it that way, then yeah, you could make a case for it. But they're really making it pretty obvious in Crystal, which is interesting. I mean, it's not really a ship I particularly enjoy, but it's interesting.
Chibiusa ended up finding herself outside, beyond. I think they say beyond.
Yeah, she kind of wandered outside of the regular time stream passageways that she uses to get to back and forth. So she's kind of in this nebulous void of time and space.
Which she bumps into Wiseman. And, of course, uses his mind tricks and got her to trust him.
Yep. Which, you know, way to go, wise man. You got a 6-year-old to trust you. That's hard.
Yeah, and that easy, too.
It's like, yeah, you also got Diamande to trust you, but I'm really not putting too much stock into Diamande's intelligence at this point.
No. Well, we better take a break now. And we are going to let you listen to Sailor Moon's theme characters song.
It's called Yume Miru Dakeja Dame.
So kick back, relax, and we will see you very soon. So see you back here after the song.
See you in a bit.
And we're back.
Welcome back, guys. We hope you enjoyed Yume Miru Dakeja Dame, which is one of my favorite songs from the original anime.
Now it's time to get into one of our big topics.
Yes, as we reach the end of the first season of Moonie Thoughts, we have some pretty in-depth topics that we wanted to discuss that we think you guys will find informative and hopefully interesting.
Yep, and to try and get it out of the way for other big topics that might be held in the future. So this month, to be much more exact, we are looking at the culture.
Yes, the culture of Japan that you see in Sailor Moon, but might not have always known exactly what was going on.
Some could be fun facts. Some of them can be really in-depth. So, let's start with the district itself. The Jubian district, as we know in the Sailor Moon franchise, is based on a real place called, sorry, I butchered this first part, Azabu Jubian.
Yep, you got it. Azabu Juban.
There we go. Which, of course, you can go and visit. This district is part of Tokyo. That's why you see the Tokyo Tower sometimes in the anime. Which the creator herself actually lived in her childhood years. Or based the Sailor Moon on her own memories of the district. And like I pointed out in an earlier podcast, some of these places is shown is actually real. Like there's the park. And of course Tokyo Tower, which Katie's gonna touch on. During my research, I came across two interesting things. The first one is that there used to be a hot spring. And of course, in Japan there is hot springs, depending on which part of the country you're in. And it was there until 2009, and right now, it's a car park.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm not kidding either. But to compare the hot spring, it's kind of like one of those health spa resorts or something like that. Which they have the relaxing hot pools. It's something along those lines.
Yeah, hot springs are kind of like a combination hot tub, sauna, only they're outdoor from natural hot springs. They're pretty common for especially Japanese families to go into and, sit in the hot spring together. Especially for vacations, for, relaxation and stuff.
Yeah, there is one episode in the classic that showed that Yusaki's family did go to a hot spring.
Yep.
So
that was one of the few episodes where the monster of the day didn't have anything to do with the arc's main antagonist. It was just kind of a standalone monster.
Which is based on a legend, I think it was. And also there used to be a festival that they had that was held up to 2011, which, or should I say, when the earthquake and tsunami happened. Finally, after that, there was a practice of self-restraint, and because of that, there is no more festivals. If you've forgotten about the two main earthquakes that happened that year, there was the Christchurch earthquake that happened in New Zealand, and in the same year, nearly a month apart.
It was because the Christchurch earthquake was pretty late February. Didn't you say it was the 21st?
Yeah, 22nd.
And
it was the 22nd.
And then the second one being.
Well, the Japanese earthquake and tsunami happened on the 11th of March.
Yeah, so that's not even a month. That's like half a month.
Well, technically 10 days before.
Yeah.
So that is if you think about it, it's really freaky, but also sad at the exact same time.
And geographically, it makes sense.
And of course, you can go and visit some of the sites that are shown in the anime, like the park, like I said, which was in the podcast. If you want to see the outside of the school, you can. Even if you really want to, you could go and visit one of the shrines around that district, which Katie's going to touch on right about now.
Alright, if you were like me when you were little and you were watching Sailor Moon, you knew that Rei worked at some sort of Japanese thing. You weren't really sure what. I mean, they called it a shrine, but you didn't really know what it was. And I always wondered about that. So, here is some info about the various shrines, the shrine maidens, and the themes that you find in Sailor Moon, specifically centered around Rei. To talk about the shrines, you need at least a basic knowledge of the Shinto religion, because that's what the shrines are. Shinto is a religion that originated in Japan. It's one of the indigenous religions, and it's still practiced by most Japanese people. And the shrines that you see throughout Japan are Shinto shrines. As a very old religion that has many followers, many different sections, it's evolved and changed. And there's different denominations, so it's really hard to include all of the facets of the religion in one really quick overview. But the very basics of at least most parts of Shintoism are that it centers around achieving peace, luck, and happiness in life through purification rituals. Impurity in Shinto is analogous to the concept of sin in Christianity. It's what you want to avoid, and because it depletes your spirit and it drags you down. So impurity is what causes spiritual unrest in Shintoism. Kami, which can be translated to the equivalent of gods or spirits or just the spiritual essence of something, are the divine of Shinto. The way of the kami is the natural order of things, and that's what practitioners of Shinto try to follow. So, knowing what Shinto is, the shrines are used as places of worship for the kami, and they're designated as places where people can commune with kami more directly and are said to kind of house kami, which is why you can go there to communicate with them. Because it's a sacred place, the general public usually has restricted access to certain areas, and there are some places that only a high priest can go into, except on very special occasions. Physical rituals are a very important part of Shinto, and the shrines provide a key role in said rituals because that's where you go. That's where you make your pilgrimage to do all of these things. They are centers of daily worship, religious events, and cultural festivals. One of the most quintessential Japanese things you will see are shrine gates. You see them in establishing shots in Sailor Moon all of the time when they want to let you know that they're at Ray's shrine, as you see the shrine gate. These gates are called Tori, and they symbolically mark the entrance onto sacred ground. So you're going from, the regular human world into the sacred world where you can more easily commune with Kami. Ray is a Miko, which is usually translated to mean shrine maiden. Originally, Miko were Shinto shamans who were said to be possessed by Kami, and they would speak in tongues and do all of that stuff. And they would drive out evil spirits, divine the future, and do other sacred rituals around the temple, or the shrine. Ray maintains many of these abilities, like, divination and psychic abilities. But in Japanese culture today, Mikos are generally less mystical. They still have some sacred duties, like they do a special dance called Kagura. That's a special dance that they do at the shrine. And they'll do some more, kind of generic for fun fortune-telling stuff, kind of more as a tourist thing. They mostly assist with the running and upkeep of the shrine and selling souvenirs. Nowadays, Miko is kind of like, a summer job for you to take while you're in college or something. For instance, Naoko Takeuchi worked as a Miko while she was in college, getting that chemistry degree we talked about, and that's how she knew all of these experiences to use when she was writing for Ray. Lastly, also related, those pieces of paper that Ray uses in her attacks, she uses them in attacks as Sailor Mars, and she even uses them when she's just in her civilian form. They're called Ofuda, and they are talismans that are supposed to ward off evil energy and evil spirits, which is why she can use them on all these Yoma. The writing on them is generally the name of a specific Kami and also the name of the shrine, and the energy of those two things is supposed to be what drives away the evil spirits. Another key place that you see in Sailor Moon a lot is Tokyo Tower, which is located in the Minato ward of Tokyo, which I believe is also where the Juban district is. Tokyo Tower is a communications tower and an observation tower, and it's one of the major identifying landmarks of Japan. It's, one of the first things you think of when you think tourist destinations in Japan. Its design, if you look at it, was obviously inspired by the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and it is painted white and orange to comply with Japan's air safety regulations. It is the second largest structure in Japan, and it is over 1,000 feet tall, which is, for anyone who uses the metric system, over 330 meters. Originally, it was used for pretty widespread television broadcasting, but with the advent of digital TV and stuff like that, it doesn't send signals as far, so it's used mostly for local broadcasting of major Japanese media for Tokyo. But aside from that, the tower's main function is tourism. It has, since it is opened, it's received more than 150 million visitors, and there's a small building located directly beneath the tower called Foot Town, and it's where you can get souvenirs and visit galleries and museums related to the tower, and there's a food court, and there's like a small shopping pavilion. And also, that's where you go to reach the first observation deck, which is the main observatory, and it's roughly halfway up the tower. And if you pay for an additional ticket, you can get to the special observatory, which is about 3/4 of the way up to the top. It's basically as high as you can go before you reach all of the antenna stuff that you can't get to. Because of its status as an icon of Tokyo's skyline and of Japan as a whole, it is used in many stories set in Tokyo. In particular, it tends to be attacked a lot in anime and manga and movies. Popular series like Magic Knight Rayer, Cardcaptor Sakura, Death Note, and a lot of Godzilla movies have all shown Tokyo Tower. And of course, it was the location of a major battle in the first arc of Sailor Moon. And it's a highlight of the skyline that you often see.
Just a quick note to add on to that. If you watched Phineas and Ferb, Summer Belongs to You, they end up going to Tokyo for a refill, and one of the places that one of the scenes was actually at Tokyo Tower as well. So it's not only in anime and manga. Some Western shows, if you look around, might have Tokyo Tower as well, like Phineas and Ferb.
Yep.
When they did their world tour by following the sun.
It's Tokyo Tower could almost be thought of as like the Eiffel Tower of Japan. That's like one of the big tourist landmarks you always think of. Something else that you see a lot in anime and manga are pretty young kids, like middle school kids or high school kids, who for whatever reason live by themselves. Sometimes it's because, both of their parents are dead, or sometimes their parents are out at work a lot, so they basically just live on their own. And this is a handy way to get responsible adults out of the way so that the story can happen. But in real life, it's really pretty rare. There are rare cases where a teenager as young as high school age will live without their parents because maybe they got accepted into a better school than the one in their hometown, but their parents can't leave their jobs, so they'll go and live on their own to go to this better school. But usually, even in cases like that, they'll go to some kind of dormitory, or at least they'll go somewhere where their landlady will keep a pretty strict eye on them. In Sailor Moon, of course, both Makoto and Mamoru are shown to live alone despite their young age because both of them had their parents die when they were young. But in real life, if that had been the case, most likely either their closest blood relative or their closest family friend would have taken them in before they just lived by themselves.
That's different from the Western world a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a trope of anime and manga that you see all the time, and it leads a lot of Western viewers to come to the conclusion that, scattered all through real life Japan are all these high school kids who just live alone and, can party hardy all the time because they don't have any parents around. And that's not how real life works in Japan. That is not, it's, they make it that way in stories because, like I said, first off, it gets parents out of the way so that adventures can happen. And also because, when you're watching an anime or a manga, you can be like, yeah, they don't have any parents, they can do what they want, that's so cool and fun. But in real life, no, that's not how it works out.
Yeah, it was Jupiter though, it showed that she doesn't party or whatever.
No.
She is mature enough to take care of herself. And the exact same thing was Momo-chan. Exact same thing. He's mature to look after himself. And I think Crystal brought that more out than the manga and the anime combined.
Yeah.
Just based on the fact about how they're coping by themselves and how mature they can get outside of the group.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we are going to take a short break from talking about the culture of Japan while you guys get to listen to another song.
Mm-hmm. And you guys get to kick back, relax, and listen to another PGSM song, which is called Friend. It's sung by the 5 main actresses of the live action. We will get more into that next year, but for now, it's time for us to take a breather. So we will see you back in a few.
See you guys.
走り続けてきた With my dreams 探し続けてきた繰り返る今もない Everyday この出会いは偶然じゃない
welcome back.
Welcome back, guys.
So let's jump into the second part of our first big topic.
Alright, getting back into Japanese culture, we're going to talk about arcades. Now, arcades, as all of you probably know, are buildings that house multiple standalone video game machines for people to play either individually or together. They were at their peak of popularity in the 80s and 90s, especially in Japan, and arcades were just kind of the quintessential teenager kid hangout spot. So it's not surprising that Usagi frequented one, because pretty much every teenager did. Though arcades are all but dead in the Western world, the only ones still left are really big ones in the 80s, really. They're still going strong in Japan. So even though it might be rare to find arcades over here, the fact that they still use an arcade in the modern setting of Crystal isn't that weird, because in Japan, they're still there. Arcades are so popular in Japan that since real estate is kind of at a premium, considering that it's a clumping of small islands, some arcades can get up to like 5 or 6 stories tall just to fit all the games, because people want to come play them. In addition to, fighting games, shooting games, racing games, side-scrollers, the typical arcade fare, Japanese arcades often include gambling games like slot machines or pachinko. Pachinko in particular is hugely popular in Japan. UFO machine games or crane machine games, the kind where you control a claw to try to pull out a prize, those are really popular arcade games in Japan. And oddly enough, typing games, like using a keyboard to type out words, those are pretty popular. Also, unlike Western arcades, Japanese game machines are infamous for their big, colorful, over-the-top control mechanisms. You can search online and you can easily find galleries of, 15 weird Japanese arcade machines, because there's so many of them. For instance, one of the Initial D arcade games, the controller is a full-sized car, and you get into the car to play the game and control your car in the game. There's several different mech battle games that use a full-scale battle pod that you have to climb into and press all the right buttons. And there's a pretty popular rhythm game using taiko drums that use full-size taiko drums with sensors in them for you to play. And taiko drums that big are, 2.5 feet diameter about, and almost as tall as most people. So they get these really big, crazy controls that even when arcades were popular over here, you didn't really see. Other popular machines in Japan are vending machines, which Hellenjane will tell you guys about.
Yep, of course, normally we know that the basic Japanese meals, like there's sushi, there's ramen, and there's udon, as in udon noodles. And as a quick fun fact before I get started into these interesting contraptions, it's not rude to sloop noodles in Japan when it does class as rude in the Western world, which is a really interesting concept. Now, to vending machines. Now, this is really, really interesting because I've been watching vending machines for a few years now, and each one gets interesting or weirder. There's even a phone vending machine that's bought at one time. Other ones include, like the bulk ones are related to food. which is both hot and cold. The cold ones that you can go and warm it up yourself. If they provide like hot water, if you're getting cup noodle, or if you end up getting like a cold hamburger, if there's a microwave, you can go in and use that. Or some vending machines does serve their food hot. Other ones also include drinks, hot and cold as well, eggs, and rice. There are also other vending machines, which I actually watched recently. It's for like chocolate bars that if you time it correctly, you can get up to 6 chocolate bars for, I don't know, around between 100 to 100 yen.
Which very roughly is between 1 to 2 US dollars.
Yeah. And because when I watched it, it did 2 rounds. If you ended up getting the 6 twice, the jackpot is 12 chocolate bars. Or you can try and find other goodies. I recommend that you search YouTube to find some of them. Some of them are really good. Some of them are just plain weird. But for Crystal's concern, in one of the episodes, there was one vending machine that's showing, and it was related to ice cream.
Yep.
And with the ice cream machine, sometimes they bring out limited edition flavors, depending on when you are, what time of year it is, and what flavors are available. And since because of this kind of vending machine kind of fad, other countries branched out of the usual cold drinks and snack vending machines that we know and love, to include like pizza, as in that you pay and it makes a pizza right in front of you around 3 minutes. I saw a mini pasta machine and a hot chips machine in another country. So,
which for any US listeners, chips for us meaning fries.
Exactly. Something like that. Not crisps.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking of it right now, it's the opposite for weather-wise, because over here now it's winter and over there is summer, but something kind of like unusual happens in the summertime that we don't really think about.
But yeah, that's true. In Japan, early summer is the rainy season, so it rains pretty frequently. It can vary depending on which area of the country you're in. But because of that, umbrellas are pretty much ubiquitous. You see everyone with umbrellas. Even if it's not actively raining, a lot of people just carry them just in case. They can be bought nearly anywhere. Some people even just, will leave their umbrella that they brought in and take one they brought out, because just so many people have umbrellas, no one even cares. But since they get used so frequently, many people like to include them as a part of their outfit. So, if you ever wondered why it's so common to see really cute umbrellas in anime and manga, or in real life Japanese fashion, and why, you can order all these cute umbrellas from Japan, it's because during several months of the year, umbrellas are pretty much a necessity, so people are like, if I gotta carry this thing, I'm gonna make it pretty. Mm-hmm. So that's why rain and umbrellas are kind of a pretty popular theme in something you see a lot in Japanese media.
And that's why you saw in the opening of Crystal that all the 5 girls have umbrellas. Uh-huh. And when they throw up in the air, it starts raining.
Yep.
And it also kind of ironic since last podcast we actually covered 6 umbrellas. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and those are produced by a Japanese company. Because, like I said, umbrellas, umbrellas are trendy to have cute ones over there.
Mm. Like over here in New Zealand, in certain parts get snow, but the rest of the country gets rain. So over here it's logical to have umbrellas during the winter. Mm-hmm. And the concept of having umbrellas during the summer, except for going to the beach to shade us from the sun, it's completely foreign to us. Uh-huh. And it's probably the exact same thing for the other parts of the Western world.
The U.S., again, it depends on where you are, but most places will get, random sporadic rain through the summer, but most of our rain comes in spring.
Mm. Is it over there in a moment that school is finishing up?
Yeah, most schools are starting to finish up or will be letting out soon over here.
Well, speaking of school, they have they do have their own school system, which, like, usually we have like creche and playgroups and kindergartens and all those kind of stuff, and we can, of course, for kindergarten starts around 3-4 years old. Well, that's over here at least. I don't know if it's the exact same thing in the US, but in Japan, they start as young as 3 years old at preschool.
Uh-huh. And that's actually, depending on what area you live in, once again in the U.S., you can start preschool, not kindergarten, but preschool at about 3 or 4. Mm.
Now, this is a bit that shocked me a bit, but preschool up to junior high, or to some people middle school, it's compulsory. While if you want to go to high school onwards, you have to study really hard to get in, because it's optional. Uh-huh. Which is over here, well, in the Western world, even though up to high school is compulsory, we have the option of dropping out of school.
And you have to test into high schools. It's another pretty common thing you see in Japanese media for middle school kids or high school kids. They're studying for exams or taking exams for either high school entrance or college entrance. Mm. And so you have to study really hard so you do well on your tests so you can get into good schools. Mm. Because you have to get into a good high school to get into a good college to get a good job. And that's why another thing you saw with Amy, that cram school she goes to, because these testings are so important, a cottage industry of after-school additional study classes has built up to help kids study even more to really make sure they get good grades on those tests.
Speaking of which, usually we get homework when we start school. Even if we had to do the letter over and over and over again, no matter what letter it is, or number is exact same thing for Japan when they start at first grade. So for that kind of area, it's similar to how our schools work with homework, I assume. So, but yeah, now we all know how sometimes our test works. That sometimes it's like a tick and a cross. Like tick if it's right, cross if it's wrong, and at the top of the test or at the bottom of the test, it's our score out of how many. But if you remember, in the first episode, either of the classic, crystal, or in the manga, you may have noticed that for Usagi's exam, you see circles, crosses, and a top her total score. For each subject, for their own report card, they do get report cards. They can get up to grade 5. Somehow they grade by numbers for how well they do in each subject, 5 being the best. And they take them home with them at the end of each term, as of course of a normal report card. And for exams, it's a mark out of 100. So now you know a bit about the numbers. The circle and crosses has a little bit of a significance to them than to us when it's ticks and cross. But it's actually the exact same thing. The circles indicates the right answers, and of course, crosses for the wrong answers. Now, for the school term. A normal school year in Japan is split up into 3 blocks. So, in the Western world, we have 4 terms. Their first block is from April to July for their first term. Then September to December for the second term. Then January to March for the third term. There is no fourth term ever. Until 2002, they had schools on Saturday.
That sucks.
And I can't remember what year it was, but when they stopped doing Saturdays every single time, it's every 2 weeks, so it'd be twice a month. Then from 2002 onwards, nowadays they follow what we're used to in the Western world: Monday to Friday for school and the weekends free. Usagi and the rest of the Innocentials, Ray included, even though she is in a private school, attends middle school or junior high. And technically speaking, for most of this is being related to public schools. I tried so hard to find stuff that relates to private schools, but I failed. I am so sorry about that. So if you guys can find any sort of information about how a Japanese private school works, doesn't matter if it's a boarding school or a commutative school, we will appreciate that and put it in a future podcast to tell you guys. With credit to you.
I'm guessing that Japanese private schools are at least sort of like American public schools, which means that since they're privately owned, they can basically set their own kind of rules, so standards are going to be different from each private school, rather than how public schools have it all standardized.
So, middle schools and junior high has a lot of after school clubs. The selection can include sports like soccer club, athletics. I remember in Maho Sensei Negima, they had a walking club. Then it turned to art, music, and other things.
Post club.
Yep. The students choose to be either in a club, go to cram school, like of course was mentioned earlier about Amy, who went to cram school, or to chill out at the end of the day, like Kisaki. So, sounds like after school clubs are not compulsory, but it helps you with your grades.
They're not required, but a Japanese culture as a whole is mostly about kind of assimilation and being part of a group. So it's usually really encouraged to join a club because, that's you're being part of the group, part of the team joining in. So it's encouraged to join a club, but it isn't mandatory.
And you can see it in other animes and mangas as well. Like Mahou Sensei's Negima again. They have a lot of after schools clubs. Like there's like a traditional one. Of course, there's a cheerleading. There's a cookery group, art group, science group, all these different groups.
Yeah. We are going to wrap the episode up there. So, as always, if you have any thoughts, comments, anything you want to share with us, feel free to send us an email at mooniethoughts@gmail.com. And also, we still need your guys' suggestions for what the winner of Moon Trivia Attack should receive, because we still haven't decided.
And don't forget that Merch of the Month will be returning around September, October?
Yeah, I think September. We'll see. It should be around that.
Yeah. So, we will like to do our usual thanks to moonkitty.net for the travelling guide of 3 of the locations of the district. Sera Myu Wiki for the extra boost of our research, as well as Wikimoon. Plus, we have 3 other websites we'll actually like to thank because of our website, of our research. Web Japan. And I used japanguide.com and the Tokyo Tower official website. And of course, as usual, you guys.
Yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. We hope you have fun listening, because we always have fun recording.
Even if sometimes we do get a bit of interruptions that we can't handle. Thank you, Skype. But, yeah. So
The next episode will be airing for the U.S. or for anyone in the Western Hemisphere, June
Western?
31st and July 1st for anyone in the Eastern Hemisphere.
I suggest that this time you do a bit of learning about mythology.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're both tired, so I apologise. So we see you next month when we're much more awake.
We'll see you guys.
Bye.